Okay, can you guys see my screen? Okay, cool. Okay, so just a little bit about me. So I am the owner of Accessible Escapes. I specialize in mobility accommodations, chronic illness, and COVID safer travel, and immunocompromised travel. Um, Basically, I am a long COVID sufferer. I developed long COVID in 2022 when I went on my honeymoon cruise. And I used to be working at the library. I still kind of do, although I may not be in the next couple of weeks. But I I basically figured out that because of my long COVID, I am unable to do most jobs as a librarian, so I had to swiftly pivot my career. And I enjoy travel so much, so I decided to become a travel agent. One moment. Gotta admit someone. Okay. So yeah. So I have a blog. This has a lot more information about than what I'm going to go through today. If you have any questions or want to look up sources, they're usually on my blog. Half of it is about COVID safer travel and precautions and such, and the other half is about mobility and chronic illness while traveling. I have it on Substack. I know some people don't like Substack, so I also post it on my website about a week after I post it onto my Substack. And I post a new blog on my Substack every third Monday of the month. Admitting more people. Sorry. Okay. So this is just go over what I think COVID safer travel is. To me, COVID cautiousness is not like a monolith, but a spectrum. People have different risk tolerances, and I believe that the key is to understand current research and risks about COVID and how or it can or does affect you and those around you. And also what you are personally willing to risk. I know it's Substack, I'm sorry, but I like the COVID is not over newsletter on Substack. So this is basically, it's linked on the presentation, but basically they post weekly updated sources, new studies that have recently come out in relation to COVID and long COVID and things like that. So I highly recommend it just to get updated information. As it comes out, I think it's a really good resource. Most people who are COVID cautious or COVID conscious as a baseline, mask in indoor crowded spaces, usually with a KN95 or better. At least that's what my baseline is for group trips. That's kind of what I'm hoping when people post about group trip ideas, that's something that that's the bare minimum that they would require for group members. I also do not provide medical advice. As a legal thing, talk to your doctor. Yes. So this is just my personal, thing. I cannot provide medical advice. Basically, when working with clients, I meet them where they are and help them find accommodations that fit their needs. So hotel rooms with balconies, home rentals, outdoor dining areas. I can't provide medical advice, but I can provide resources from those who are doctors and researchers like the Substack blog. But of course, you must be the judge for yourself and talk to your doctor, etc., etc. Okay, so what are the highest COVID-19 risks in places where people commonly travel? I'm basing this on studies that I found. That's not an exhaustive list by any means, and I go into more detail in my blogs. So first is hotels. I posted a blog a couple months ago, COVID and Other Airborne Germs, Risk in Hotels, Missed Realities, and Research. I go into the research in more detail there, but basically what are primary ways COVID is spread through a hotel? First will be communal areas like lobbies and elevators, obviously. Staff interactions with guests in the guest rooms. COVID can stay in the air for a long time in poorly ventilated rooms. You can be exposed even if the staff member who serviced your room has already left, even if it's hours ago. Opening the door to your room in a shared hallway, that's another big one. For ventilation, what I found, and this is coming from one primary source, I will admit, because there's not a lot of research out there when it comes to hotels specifically, and HVAC systems. But according to my research, due to the way air flows between rooms, getting COVID through ventilation is very rare. And that's according to the only credible HVAC engineer I could find that discusses the subject, Joey Fox. If you could find another HVAC engineer who is knowledgeable and could talk to me, or if you know a post or something, I'd love to see it. I'd love to have it shared. I always want to keep my information updated. So drains and sanitation systems can also induce spread. However, this is also very rare and relies on certain conditions. And I have more information in the source of that on my blog. So, planes. I haven't written the blog post yet. I am doing that. It will be released April 20th. Security, TSA lines, huge. Especially since you have to take off your mask to be identified. I haven't found anyone who was able to do a workaround with that, where they were able to keep their mask on. If you have any tips, please share. Also, heavily trafficked airports are the primary ways to spread off the plane. On the plane, onboarding, when air circulation is turned off and people are moving through the cabin, it is also a point where germs can easily spread. So the moment before takeoff and when people are onboarding is your highest chance of a risk. Increased flight time increases probability. Also, for me, I know if the longer the flight, the more likely I'm going to get really hungry, and I'm especially since I can get like blood sugar issues, so it's more likely that you will be tempted to take off your mask just to be able to eat. And also bathrooms are a point of increased spread. So sitting by the bathrooms is not recommended. Cruises, onboarding, including security and TSA. Like planes, you also have to pull down your masks so they can identify you. I haven't seen a port where that's not the case. Indoor dining and crowded indoor venues, that's a huge one. I would say that's most places where most of the spread happens, just because it's so crowded and everyone's eating and it's just ugh. And buses and excursions are also a point. For cabins, the main way COVID enters your room is through cleaning by staff or opening the door. There's very little evidence that is spread through ventilation. In fact, from the studies I've read, especially after 2020, air flow in cabins are really, really, really good and have a really good air change rate. But of course, there's other ways you could get COVID. So what I bring with me to stay safe, FitNet tested N95 in all indoor and crowded outdoors areas. Honestly, any is fine as long as it's fit tested. Okay. Sorry, just making sure no one else is coming in. So I know some people say not to buy from Amazon, but honestly, if you fit test the mask, and I will actually, at the end of this presentation, I will put a link in from a Reddit post about ways you can fit test your mask at home. I used to have, I did have I think it was this home fit test thing that you could buy, but I don't think they have any available anymore. Haven't seen them, which kind of sucks, but yeah. So I suggest just doing a fit test, and if it works, it works, as long as it is N95 or even KN95 and better. N95 is preferable though, obviously. So I also use a sip valve. That's me drinking on a cruise, a smoothie. But yeah, so I like it. They're a little expensive, and I highly recommend you buy an X-Acto knife, or you use an X-Acto knife with it, just because I find that scissors are really hard to get the exact hole in your mask in order to put the sip valve in it. So I also gargle CPC mouthwash and use a nasal rinse. I know CPC mouthwash is controversial. Some people think it doesn't work. Honestly, I use it anyway for my teeth, so I just figure there's no harm. And I also use a nasal rinse. I make sure to bring your nasal rinse supplies and distilled water, if you can, or you could buy distilled water at the location. I usually do this after every risky event, so every time I'm out in public, there's a huge crowd, I'll come back into my hotel or wherever I'm staying, and I will do a nasal rinse and gargle CPC mouthwash. And I can't remember what brand I use. Oof, I gotta look in the bathroom. So also HCOL spray, that's less for COVID and more for norovirus and other viruses. Hand sanitizer does not kill norovirus. I learned that the hard way. So I like the little Clean Smart bottles. I don't know how active they are, but a lot of people like to make it themselves at home using a kit. I don't have time for that. So I just bring the little pre-made bottles, which are available on Amazon. And I also bring antivirals and other just-in-case medicine in case you get COVID. I try to swindle my doctor to give me antivirals specifically before I go on vacation. I have a doctor that's willing to give it to me just as a precautionary measure. I highly recommend finding a doctor that would be willing to do that for you. I also bring plenty of tests. I have metrics. I don't have Plus Life. I didn't get on board until it was very difficult to get, and Metrics is, for me, it's easier to travel with because it's a smaller profile. And rapid tests. Always bring more than you think you need. That also goes with masks too. I don't know. There's always a situation where a mask may break, or you may be feeling more unwell than usual, or something might be happening and someone else might need a mask or a test. So I always try to bring as much as I can fit in my bag. So HEPA grade air purifiers. I recommend bringing a HEPA grade air purifier and putting it near the door of the accommodation if you have shared hallways, just for when the door opens and when the door opens. And I use the QT3. It's the only one I could find that is battery powered. If you know anything that's battery powered, that's a little bit more better at airflow rate and cleaning out a room, please let me know. I also bring Air Fanta. I have 2 Air Fantas. I have the Air Fanta 4 Light and the Air Fanta Wear. I usually use that for when eating in public. I try to eat outside, but sometimes it's just not possible. And so if my risk tolerance is low, then I will do that. And other tips, keep snoozing sign on the door for cruises and hotels. If you are worried that they're going to come in anyway, I always suggest just letting this attendant know that you're immunocompromised, and just asking them if they could wait. I haven't had any pushback with that yet. Research outdoor dining areas or take out options before leaving. Get good travel insurance and make sure it covers most, if not all, the fare for cancellations due to illness. You will also want to make sure that it covers any itinerary changes if you become sick while on vacation. I highly recommend third-party insurance. A lot of insurances that come from like your credit card, travel insurance, or that comes from the place you're booking it. So like sometimes cruises will offer travel insurance, or flights will offer, airlines will offer travel insurance. Usually they don't cover medical. So if you have medical issues, they may not cover that, which is really important if you're in a foreign country. You can also consider cancel for any reason insurance. That is the supplier I use. That's usually at 80%. They'll return 80% of your fare if you literally cancel for any reason. I don't think there's any travel insurance that will return your whole fare for cancel for any reason, but it's a good option if you are afraid that they're just not gonna take your cover your reason. For cruises, choose a cabin with a balcony just for airflow. Try to choose a hotel with open windows or outside entrances, or a balcony. Just, in case airflow is not that great, you can make sure you have an ability to reach the outside and get outside air into your room. Other tips, schedule rest days after travel in case of an infection. This is, I feel like this is just in case you do get sick. There's studies say that exercising and doing activities during COVID can increases your chance of long COVID. And also, it's just, especially if you have a chronic illness, your body's going to want that rest day. And so it's always a good idea to schedule rest days in. And then so group trip policy, I'm not going to go over this completely, but this is the benefits of working with a travel agent, specifically me, for planning custom group trips. So group trip policies, again, this is only if you decide to book through me. You can post whatever if you decide to plan your own group trip on the Facebook group. It's completely fine. The only thing I ask is that if you are a company or business, one, you share that, and two, you let people know the precautions you are going to take and the precautions you would like other people to take while on that group. A group leader is needed. All group trips must have a dedicated group leader. A group leader is responsible for coming up with the trip ideas, working with me to make decisions, and serving as the on-site contact for other group members during the trip. They should be the ones to lead activities on site and contact me if any issues should arise. They're usually the ones who sign up for the free consultation and have the initial idea. Of course, if you don't want to do on-site stuff, I am more than happy to come and do it, help you, but it will be an extra fee just to pay for my travel and stuff. Group leader fees range from around $30 to $80 if I'm not going with you. All group members will be charged an additional fee upon booking up to my discretion, dependent on multiple factors, unless the group leader decides to pay on one card and pay the deposit fee. I will only contact accommodations that can be reserved for free. So unfortunately, this means that a lot of boutique hotels or home rentals are out of the equation. Basically, I can't, if their space is not, I don't want to put I don't want to risk putting my own money down. That's just not a very it's too financially risky for me. So, I will have to book group space in hotels or accommodations that will give me that group space for free, which there are plenty, but they're usually large hotel chains. And so if they're wanting a deposit to hold that group space, the group leader will have to pay that if they want to go with that accommodation. Okay, enough of me talking. I'm going to stop the recording now. 1 second.